influenced others and made a difference for somebody. This book is going to make a whole lot of difference. And I'd like to, with that in mind, I'd like to offer just a brief prayer for the meal, if I may, Bill.
I'm sorry.
Offer a brief prayer for the meal and for
Of
our
course.
getting together, okay?
Yeah.
May we pray. Dear God, we thank you first of all for the life of Bill Hendrick and his family. We thank you, Father, for the wonderful life that you've allowed him to live and the many occasions that are stored away in his heart and his mind. We thank you, Father God, for the privilege of earning me getting to sit here on his porch and talk to him about whatever and where he will be comfortable. We pray, Father God, that you will have Bill to be comfortable tonight. We thank you for the food that is before us, and we ask that you bless it to the nourishment of our bodies. In Jesus' name we pray.
I tell you now, I'll give you fair warning.
Please.
My memory's not what it used to be.
No.
Well, mine's not either.
But you know, maybe just talking about things will prompt, and it is what it is. Your memory not being what it used to be. Now grab your burger and enjoy your burger. Don't let it get cold.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Please.
okay.
Now, your memory not being what it used to be is more valuable to us than somebody who just got through reading the book.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
I was just reading through this thing a minute ago. I enjoy this book so much, and I wrote it like, what, 40 years ago? 30? Anyway, a long time ago. And I was just sitting here before you all came and saw so many things in here that brought back memories of it.
May I?
Sure.
I
I'll give you one of those before you leave.
Oh please. Thank you. Oh my.
Those are one-of-a-kind pictures in there, a lot, that really make the book worthwhile. It's some.
Might you have one for Dr. Binko's son too?
Uh,
No, if you don't, that's okay.
No, it's okay.
We'll share.
I
We'll
can make
share.
I can make copies.
no, I'll give you a copy.
But look here, Ernie. I want you to look through this. But we're just talking. We're just talking, and the wonderful opportunity that we have to record a few things for about 6 generations who don't know what we're talking about.
Right.
There's about not just 2 generations, about 5 or 6 generations who can't even understand, but they will after this book is written. This book, Bill, we're going to attempt, anyway, to tell this. I don't want to get anything on that. That's your copy. We're going to attempt to tell the story of the people, places, and things that made a difference. The people that made a difference, people that employed other people, people that caused things to happen, people that made things happen.
Kenneth Asbury.
Kenneth Asbury, Joe Smitty,
Joe Smith.
Fred Greer.
Yeah. I knew them all well.
And you know them all well. Have you ever seen a brief video? And if not, I'm going to make sure that I bring it down here before today's Tuesday, before Sunday. Have you ever seen the video of you being interviewed on the main street of Norton outside of the Wise County National Bank? It was then First National Bank of Norton, First National Bank of Norton. And the whole world was buzzing over Francis Gary Powers having been shot down. And
I broke the first story.
you broke the first
in the
story.
whole world.
And so there's that video. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
Okay, I'll make sure that I get a copy of it and that it's brought down here for you.
Well,
And
thank you.
I would have brought it tonight. I just didn't have time to do it. But it will be an honor to do that for you. Now, can you talk to us a little bit about breaking the Francis Gary Powers story? What was it like then to be the the newspaper of the hometown of Francis Gary Powers and the town of his father, and all the buzz and everybody coming in. Can you talk to us about it?
Yeah, I was coming back from the post office. Yeah, I worked at the Cofield Progress, and I twice a day would go to the post office. This was a long time ago.
Yes.
And every once in a while I'd stop by Oliver Powers' shoe shop there.
Now tell us, where was his shoe shop at that time?
Was
Was it in the bank building?
was it the same street that the post office is on?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was on the corner there, but it
Yeah.
wasn't the bank building. It was just a building. Carl McAfee's office was upstairs, him
Yeah.
and you. And they didn't have a restroom. You had to go across the street to use the bathroom.
I know.
We're going to try not to interrupt you. You just go ahead.
Yeah.
Now, you stopped by to see Mr.
Uh,
Powers.
I was coming back from the post office, and I usually, being an old timer, I always stopped and spoke to everybody. Back in those days, this was before television, I think, and quite a bit. But anyway, I went in, and Oliver was there, and he was crying. And I said, "What's wrong, Oliver?" And he said, "I just got word they shot my boy down." And about that time, I heard on the radio, I believe it was, that an American had been shot down.
Yes.
And et cetera. And they had him at the time in Moscow, I think. And I knew immediately it was Gary Powers, because they had just almost simultaneously notified Oliver that his son had been captured and was a prisoner. And so that's the way I was introduced into the situation. And Oliver and I were good friends too, and his wife. And his dad and I were good friends too.
Yeah. Then what did you do from there, so far as your relationship with the Cofield? You were the one to break the story after talking with Oliver.
Yeah, I was. And then I broke the story like in the Cofield, and I think the word got around. There's kind of a fraternity of newspaper people, and the word got around, and I began to get all these phone calls from New York and the Associated Press and all, wanting more information about Francis Gary Powers and his dad and everything. And I was kind of the center of attention there for about 10 minutes.
You were the spokesperson initially when it all broke, weren't you?
Yeah.
You were the liaison between this newspaper, the Cofield Progress, which broke the story through you, and the national, regional newspaper,
Yeah.
weren't you?
Yeah, I was an active member of the Virginia Press Association, and so a lot of them called me because they knew me, and I was at the center of attention at the time.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
and all, so they all, most of them called me for more information, or not that I could give them too much.
Well, not many people knew much to say, did they? Including his family.
No, it happened so quick, yeah. I was trying to think of his mother's name. Francis Powers' mother, I can't remember.
I've heard it spoken, but I don't know.
But anyway, I talked to her on the phone and everything, you know, and she said something about something to the effect they'd shot her boy down, and he was in Russia and was captured, or whatever you want to call it. But
Was Norton crawling with reporters then, Bill?
Who?
Was the city of Norton crawling with reporters? Were they coming out of every corner into Norton to try to find out what was going on? The reporters from New York and Atlanta and other places.
I don't recall that many.
Okay.
I don't. I guess mostly they filtered in later, but most of them they got a hold of me, and I was active in the Virginia Press Association, and you know somebody like say from the Roanoke Times,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Richmond Times Dispatch, or you know Lynchburg newspaper, and they'd call it, and Bill, what do you know about this or something? You know, well, Harry, I'll tell you the way it was.
Yeah.
But
Did you ever think it would become the big, big, big story and big, big situation that it did?
No.
The first when you first heard no.
no,
No.
no, I was very active with the Virginia Press Association, and so I knew most of the top dogs in the Richmond Times Dispatch, the Roanoke Times, the Lynchburg paper, and the Norfolk, Newport News, and we met twice a year. And we were a real close group. We'd have a few drinks before the meeting, and we kept up with each other's families, and it was a real close-knit type of thing. So I didn't get overly excited about it because these were, well, just like you and me, and,
Yeah.
and Ernie. We were just good friends. So, well, I would talk to them the way I'm talking to you right now. It's just.
As a
And
side,
Carl McAfee was.
yes.
He and Oliver. Now, let's see, what was Carl involved in?
Carl and Hugh had the law office above, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, time kind of.
Yes.
I think one time when they finally got Gary home, and I remember Carl was instrumental in getting him back over to his
Yes.
home in Pound.
Mm-hmm.
And was it Pound? I'm pretty sure it was Pound.
It was
Yeah.
found. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I got so many oddball telephone calls from, it was at first 2 or 3 about, hey, I'm from the New York Times, or I'm from the Chicago Daily Tribune, or, it was kind of exciting. And then after that, it was just aggravated.
You were aggravated by it.
Yeah, I mean, it was, you get tired, I couldn't do my own job for answering the phone from people wanting to know things, and
Did the Coalfield Progress pretty much give you free run to have to deal with that though?
Oh,
Did-
yeah, I always
they
had
let
free
you.
run.
Yeah, uh-huh.
yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the Coalfield Progress then. Thank you for sharing with us your recollections of Francis Gary Powers and being the one to break that news. We'll go back and read your recollections and comments in the Coalfield Progress, the articles you wrote. Tell us a little bit about the Coalfield Progress. What was it? It was a different day for weekly newspapers then, wasn't it, Bill?
Oh yeah, it was like Press Atkins. If I recall, he was still living there,
Yes, I'd heard that.
and he was. I don't mean to be disrespectful or anything, but he was kind of a domineering. He called a spade, and then He was always short of breath. He had emphysema and still smoked despite all that, you know. And so for a little while it was kind of overwhelming because, you know, little old country newspaper, and I was the only reporter for the Goldfield at the time.
And there was a lot of news coming through here, wasn't there?
Oh yeah. I stayed busy 7 days a week.
What one topic, what one subject generated most of the news? Was it mine related? Was it the changes that were coming? What brought about? What drove most of the news then, Bill, for the Coalfield Progress? What was it that drove most of the news stories?
The Coalfield, when I was there, was just sort of a family, good old boy, reporting the news every week. Stuff that you wouldn't even bother reading today. You know, like Nancy Belton visited her brother over in Kingsport Sunday afternoon, and you know, type of stories like that. That's at the time, the Knoxville News Sentinel was very active in Wise County, and along with the Roanoke Times and the Kingsport Times News and the Bristol Herald Courier.
Those four?
Yeah. So all of those coming in, I had a hard time getting something that I could break because they all got it and printed it the same day. And me, I that would give me a couple of days to think of something. Well, what the hell are they going to write? What can I write that they don't?
Not,
you know, something like that. But I had a lot of loyal readers. I did.
Sure you did.
I started very young at the Coalfield, and Carl Tate was very, very good to me. He was the one that hired me. We both danced around Press Atkins a lot. Press was kind of old school.
Yeah. Did Carol have to dance around Press almost as much as you did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, as Press grew older, Carol grew more authoritative. And, you know, he gradually, as Press faded and everything, Carol eventually took control over Mr. Atkins because with emphysema, I mean, it's really
difficult.
Oh, I mean, he had a hard time breathing, you know, every minute.
Let's think about another. You've talked about the Francis Gary Powers incident. You've talked about generally about the Coalfield Progress and what it was like to work for a small town weekly newspaper. Do you recall the incident where the explosion occurred at Needmore after the barn caught on fire that held the nitroglycerin? Do you recall that
The
incident?
hell what?
You know, that barn there at Needmore that Hobart Whitaker owned, there was an explosion there when that barn caught on fire.
Took pictures of it.
Did you cover that story? Yeah. Do you have a recollection a little bit about that story, Bill? About
No, I just remember it happening, and I remember going over there and taking pictures, and I tell you, being the only newspaper at the time.
You were spread thin.
The Post was down here, but they didn't get too involved up in that upper end of the county at the time. And there was not too much love lost between Press Atkins and call 9. Both of them were cantankerouses, you know.
And so they had they each one of them had their own own roles to hold, you might say.
They were civil. They
were civil
to
toward to each
yeah,
other.
but there was no love lost. Put it that way.
Are there any now? Can I go have Jamie warm that up for you?
No, I'm fine.
Now, will you promise to eat? We'll talk a little bit and let you take a bite or two. That's hard for us to talk when you're present, but we're going to let you talk and eat, and you're going to go ahead and talk with your mouth full, please. Are there any other major stories? Any other major stories that over your years that comes to mind, like the Francis Gary Powers story?
Angela Sargent.
Angela Sargent.
That sticks out in my mind.
Would you tell us a little bit about that and eat and enjoy your burger? Please enjoy your burger.
I will. She, do you remember that?
I remember the name. I can't remember the circumstances.
She was a little girl.
Oh well, yeah, I did an investigation on that.
On the riverbank, and this what was his name? He tried to rape her, and she fought him off, and he lost his temper, and he stomped her. Stomped her on the body there.
Yeah.
And I can't remember, but I believe it killed her. But but I'm not sure of that.
Yeah, he threw her off the bank, according to what the police said, into the river.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it seems to me like I was there when they pulled her body out of the river. I was real close to the sheriff's department and the Norton
Police Department.
Police Department and Wise and Pound and back in those days I had the luxury of being the only newspaper around, only newspaper man around. So anytime anything had happened, it was nothing unusual about me getting phone calls at 3 o'clock in the morning. Hey Bill, there's an awful bad wreck down here somewhere. I think you might want to come down and take pictures and that.
Yeah.
And this happened hundreds of times down through the years.
But you know, it is quite remarkable that of all the things that happened, Francis Gary Powers, the Needmore explosion, mine accidents that killed coal miners, mine explosions and all, but the Angela Sargent case sticks out in your mind, I can tell, sticks out in your mind, had a greater impact on your thinking as a big story that anything you covered, the Bill, right?
Oh yeah, she was a beautiful little, I believe, was it 7 years old?
She was, yeah, real small girl.
Yeah, and she was real cute and just, you know, adorable.
Mm-hmm.
And it, for older people, it broke everybody's heart when she was murdered the way she was.
Where did the murder take place, allegedly? Where did it take place?
Like I told you, my memory's
Oh,
not
it's
what it
okay,
used to be.
please, we understand.
It seems to me like that he stomped her to death.
Was it outside
If I remember correctly, I think he tried to rape her. And she fought him off. And she was a very small child, and he was a pretty big man, you know. And he just, I can't remember if he was drinking or not. Seems to me like he was, but anyway, he just stomped her to death.
Did this happen outside of Norton, outside of Pound, outside of Coburn? Do you recall which community, Ernie?
It was in Appalachia.
Oh, it was in Appalachia?
Yeah.
Going towards Stone Aggie.
Okay.
But it was still in Appalachia. And here's one of the things I remember about it, is that she had a bruise mark on her leg, and they kept saying that it was where he bit her.
Yeah, I
And-
remember that.
And I was an investigator at the time. They asked me if I could get somebody that would know about that. And the guy that developed the science is called odontology, bite marks.
Right.
He was from Arkansas. We got him here from Arkansas to talk about bite marks. Then the Virginia State Police had an expert, or got an expert, that had been one of his students. And they both came to the Wise County Courthouse and talked about bite marks. And they were so sophisticated, the jury couldn't understand either one of them.
Yeah, that happened a lot back in those days.
Yeah.
I wrote a lot of things and I didn't know what the hell I was writing about.
Just quoting other people.
Yeah, but I had fun. I wouldn't take anything from those years.
Well, how about this Dixon guy up here in the hollow? Did you ever write anything on him? He was the fellow from this area, and he joined the armed services and went to Korea, and he was captured. He escaped once, and then escaped a second time, and they said in the national news that he was going to stay in, he disavowed the United States and he was going to stay in North Korea, and escaped the second time, and he was a national hero. And then they court-martialed him after that.
What was his name? I remember that.
His last name was Dixon. I don't remember his first name right now, but that's when the FBI and the senator decided that they needed to get an scapegoat. So they brought all their efforts in on him, and he didn't have anything to do with any of it.
I know.
Yeah. And even the VFW was behind him. And they court-martialed him, sent him to Leavenworth, I believe. And they bothered him all his life about stuff that he didn't have anything to do with. He went to Carl and asked Carl, could he help him get his name cleared? And Carl was good friends with Bill Clinton. And he called Bill Clinton, and I was there when he called him and said, Bill said, well, I'll give him a presidential pardon. And Ed Dixon, that was his name. Yeah. Ed said, I don't want no damn presidential pardon, I want my name cleared. Yeah. And then we talked to the judge down here, Judge Glenn Williams, the federal judge.
I remember Glenn.
And he said, yeah, he was railroaded, but this is a military case, and I don't have anything I can do to help.
It's called passing the buck.
Yeah, yeah. So, anyway.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you remember a lot of that stuff. You refreshed my memory.
Yeah.
But
are there any mining related catastrophes?
Oh yeah.
That sticks in your mind, Bill? You had to cover a whole lot of mine-related fatalities, and
was it Dipsiana? I can remember one there where there was, I believe it was 6 people were killed.
Just before you get to Dixiana in the Guess River area.
Yeah.
Going up Guess River, just before you get to Dixiana, and the explosion, and there were 6 killed. And how was it to cover those stories, Bill? Heartbreaking, heart-rending.
Oh Lord, yeah. I remember right before Christmas, one guy decided he would give the Coleman police a hard time. They used to park right in the middle of town, right under where that crosses over to the old depot.
Yeah.
And they used to park there all the time. That was their main park there, you know. So he went by one night, and a couple of blocks before he got there, and he gunned it. He was doing about 65 or 70. when he went by there. And of course, they took off after him. And they were going towards St. Paul. And he was flying, and the cops were maybe a half a mile behind him. And this guy was pulling out of his driveway with his family. They were going to Bristol for Christmas shopping. And they pulled out just about that time. He came like that, and he hit them head on there, and it killed 6 all at one time, the whole family and everything. And I can remember going to the wreck, and then later went into Colbert. And I remember there, it was, well, the office is still there, but it was somewhere on Main Street. And I remember opening the door, walking in, and there was 6 bodies, one right after another, covered with sheets and everything, you know, and the guy and covered the sheets so I could see each one of them. And that's something you never forget.
No. Tell me, do you recall covering the 1957 flood that devastated Pound in a lot of our communities?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about that flood, and then about flooding in general. Was it something that every spring you got your papers and pencil out and knew you was going to have a story of some kind about the flooding?
Oh, no.
No.
I was a natural writer. Stuff just, I didn't have to think. It just came off.
I can tell. We
You
can
know.
tell, yes.
And I remember we got a phone call. I went to Pound and to that bridge before you go into downtown Pound. And that's as far as you could get. The water was up over the bridge. High enough that you couldn't drive over it.
Yes.
And I backed up, and I can't remember if somebody was with me and showed me the way or what, but anyway, we backed up and went around, took a back road, and went over through Clintwood, and then back on that other road, back into above Pound.
Yes.
And I remember, you know where the Methodist church is there in Pound?
Yes, on the hill. On the hill.
Got up on there, and you could look right down on the town, and the only thing you could see was the rooftops. I mean, the whole town was underwater. I mean, completely underwater. The only thing you could see was a few roofs, tops, or a chimney or something, and that was all, you know. And I took pictures of all those things with that old four by big old press camera. I forgot what you call it now. I used to lug that damn thing around, and it weighed about 40 pounds, and I had to take a sack with me, and they had their old film holders, and you could only take 2 pictures at a time. You take a picture, pull the slide, take a picture, put the slide back in, pull the slide out, turn it over, put it back in, pull the slide, and take a picture. And so I had about 10 or 12 those slide holders, you know. You had to lug in an old sack along with
And
it.
that wasn't easy.
No,
Oh.
I often think even today, newspaper reporters have such a good time there with a little 35mm camera,
Yeah.
and me used to climb mountains and all of these different places, especially, you know, that crossing up there for Keoki.
Yes.
Right up there's a mountaintop up there, and I had to climb that. For some reason or other, I can't remember what it was, but the state had people climbing that mountain for something. And I had to go up there too, lugging that sack full of film holders and that big camera and everything, you know.
Do you recall, Bill, the incident where the gentleman broke out of the Camp 18 correctional place and all the local police officers were attempting to recapture him, and down there near west end of Norton, he shot Ronnie Oakes. Do you recall that?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about
I don't recall a whole lot about it, but I
but
remember that particular time there was a lot of people came in here from other newspapers.
Yes.
Of course, well, Ronnie wasn't the sheriff then, was he?
No, he was a state trooper.
Yeah, right.
He was a state trooper.
Yeah. My memories, you know, for 91, I don't.
Oh, your memory is excellent for 91, Bill. What about just the fire? When I didn't know this until recently, when Dr. J.J. Kelly was able to get the vocational technical education in Wise County, the first one in the state of Virginia,
Yeah.
that they had to build, in order to keep their status, they had to build a vocational school, and so they built it on the property that the county already owned, which was the fairgrounds.
Yeah.
Now, that year, the fair had been held in Wise every year from the time it started, which was about 1914 or 15,
Right.
thereabouts.
Right.
Where did they take the fair to? And I'm not trying to challenge your memory, but they took the fair somewhere else. The only time that the fair, and it was in 1956, the only time that the fair was not held on the Wise Fairgrounds, but was held somewhere else. I'll give you a hint. The man who found the place and said, "We'll take care of it," was Fred Greer. And it was the time that John I. Burton High School was just newly occupied.
Fred Greer was my Sunday school teacher when I was a little boy.
Oh my.
He was my great teacher. Boy, how many he could spin a yarn and keep your attention. You can understand why he was a good lawyer. I mean, he just had a really imagination.
Was he a brilliant man, or was he a great orator? Did he have because he is one of the great leaders of our county, did he have the ability to persuade? What was it about Fred Greer? He made things happen, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. See, I can't remember. It seems to me like when he first started his law practice, that he was by himself. And then later, who came along? Bob Winston?
Bowen, Winston.
Tom Bowen.
Yes.
And joined him, and then Bob Winston came along. And the first thing you know, they had a Greer, Bowen, Winston, and...
Was Mr. Mullins a part of that firm?
Leslie Mullins.
Les Mullins.
Yeah.
Les Mullins.
Yeah, I knew Leslie very well. He was my next door neighbor.
Yes.
And J.J. Kelly just lives across the street. See that White House on the corner?
Yes.
He lived behind it. That's the old J.J. Kelly house.
It's still there?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, it is.
But that, it's just strange that was the only time they moved the Wise County Fair to the John I. Burton football field in 1956, Bill. And I just wondered if you recalled that.
I recall something. I can't remember. It seems to me like they were ready to lynch Kenneth Asbury.
Ready to lynch Kenneth.
Kenneth was caught in the middle on the thing or something, you know, but he was still head of the thing.
Well, Kenneth was caught in the middle of a lot of things because he was a mover and shaker.
Yeah, he was.
He was.
Yeah, and Kenneth Asbury was one of the great people in our history. He was.
Yes.
He and Joe Smith and Bill Hendrick.
Tell us a little bit about, if you can, about Bill Canto.
Lord have mercy. I
And we're
remember
going
Bill
to
so
let
well.
you eat after this, but you tell us a little bit about Bill Canto, and I'm going to go take your food in to Jamie for her to warm it up for you.
I can remember Bill every day when I was working for the coal field, which was right on Main Street.
Yes.
And back in those days, everything went by our door, our window, either on one side of the street or the other. And Bill used to go to the post office and the Miles County National Bank every morning and then every evening, just like clockwork, you know. And he moved. I mean, he never walked slow. He almost half run everywhere he went, you know. And I can remember so well him. And every once in a while he'd stop by and see me.
He was, too, a mover and shaker.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
He came here as Norton's first city manager, and then bought out the Clark Sherrard dealership and established a Chrysler dealership there on the corner.
Right.
And then he got involved in making everything better.
He was in pretty thick with. You remember Bill Canto?
Oh yeah.
He was in real thick with Bill Canto.
Yeah.
Bill was another moving shaker.
Yes.
Yeah. And they were almost inseparable. I mean, you could go up. The inn used to be, the dining room up there used to be the center spot of Miles County. I mean, and every time you got a chance, you'd go up there for lunch.
Yes.
And they just had wonderful cooks and everything.
And peach of a pie.
Huh?
And peach of a pie.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And was it the center, sort of speak, the center of the universe for what was being talked about, what was happening? You went to the inn, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah. It was a nice, comfortable place. It wasn't a whole lot different than what it is today. But
Yeah.
I've not been up there in years. But
Well, Jamie's going to bring you up there as my guest real soon.
Oh, really?
I'm working there part-time now,
Uh-huh.
and so we will treat you as any guest could ever be treated. But Jamie said she'll bring you up. But how would you compare having lunch at the Inn at Wise with having lunch down at Southwest Drug Store and sitting on the stools around the drug counter? When did that pass, Bill? When did the drug counter lunches? When did that? Did it just fade away? What caused it? That type of lifestyle, that to fade away? The downtown, the corner, the corner newsstands, the lunch counters at Southwest Drug and all.
Norton Pharmacy.
Norton Pharmacy, yeah.
And the Southwest Drug up this, and of course my office was right across the street.
Yes.
So I saw everything going on in both places, and all, you know. And I can remember one of the names was Mr. Glass,
Yes.
and he was a pharmacist.
Yeah,
wasn't he?
Frank Glass, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you mention some names, I'll remember. But
Yeah.
my
One of them, Mr. Glass had Norton Pharmacy, and Mr. Durden had Southwest Pharmacy. Am I
Mr.
right?
Durden, yeah,
Yeah.
remember him well.
Did you ever hear the story? Do you ever hear the story of some compound drug person who was compounding in the compounding method of producing medicines, produced this medicine called Hadacol.
Hadacol.
And the man that produced the Hadacol, which was supposed to be a cure for almost everything, Mr. Durden, so I was told, I don't know if it's true or not, but I was told that Mr. Durden said, well, if Hadacol will do that well, he developed his own medicine there called Durdencol.
About 85% alcohol.
Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. I mean, he sold that stuff. I mean, he sold more than the liquor store did there. With that, you could get away with it then. You know, if you go pull out a pint of liquor and people would raise their eyebrows, but you could take some of that Hadacol and just take a drink, take a good drink of it, you know.
The pharmaceutical industry or the federal government or the state government stopped him from producing Durdencol, didn't they, Bill?
Who were those people with the, what was it, the ATF?
Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, yes.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, I can remember when they came in and they interviewed me, wanted to know they were looking for dirt.
Yeah.
And I wasn't born yesterday, and I've been an old newspaper man, you know. And they didn't get a hell of a lot out of me.
Yeah. Did you, as a newspaper man, did you find, and we're going to run after this unless you enjoy it?
No, I'm fine.
Did you find that people welcomed you with open arms, or people said, oh gosh, here comes the newspaper man, don't say nothing? Which one of those was true?
I started working for the Coalfield Estate. I graduated from high school, and I went to University of Kentucky for 2 years. And I can't remember if I came back then or I went in the Air Force for 4 years in Germany and then came back. And I lost my train of thought.
You were talking about having gone to the University of Kentucky and coming back, and we were talking about what, Ernie?
Air Force.
The Air Force, you'd gone into the Air Force, but we were talking about something before that, though.
I can remember, actually, Carl Tate did a little bit of news work, but mostly he was advertising and everything. And there, for a couple of 3 years, I was it about this as far as the newspaper was concerned, until Ralph Rasnick came along.
Yes.
And then Ralph came to work for me, and we worked for the Coalfield for quite a while, you know. But there was, from 1951 to 61, 65, there was very little that ever happened in Miles County that I didn't cover. I mean, you know, that's just the way it was.
Terry Gibson came to work.
Terry came, yeah.
Yeah. After Ralph, he came to work after Ralph Rasnick, or was he there while you and Ralph were there, or?
I think Terry came after Ralph.
After Ralph, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Terry worked for me.
Right.
But there's so much history. You remember where the Coalfield used to be before it moved there on the main street?
I remember, but I don't remember where it was, though.
Well, you know the street where the post office is.
Yeah.
It was coming back towards Main Street, across the street, in the old Passmore building.
Yeah, okay.
Right through there, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Passmores, let me ask you this. Do you remember the shrunken heads he had?
The what?
Shrunken heads?
Shrunken heads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always wanted to do a story on the shrunken heads, and where they came from. It was a doctor, 2 nurses, and a native, and they were supposed to be from France. The doctor and the 2 nurses.
Yeah.
It seemed like to me those people would like to know where their ancestors ended up at.
Right.
Yeah.
I often wonder whatever happened to those things, whether they're passed down to the family members.
Well, after Jackie Passmore's dad died, his wife did not want those in the house. So there's supposed to be 2 of them in Roanoke, and supposedly they gave 2 of them to Dr. Ingram, and he sent them to the medical school he graduated from.
Bill Ingram.
Whether any of that's true or I don't know, but it'd make a wonderful story if we could figure out who they really belonged to.
Yeah.
I was told, and I don't know whether this is true or not, but a band member, a musician there in Norton, his uncle was the man
Who brought them in?
who brought them in, and the one who introduced them to Jack Passmore Sr. and it was there that they and I think he later worked with others to see that they were dealt with, but
Well, he was a merchant marine.
he was a merchant
supposedly
marine. Yes.
Traveled the world 63 times or something like that.
Yes.
And he was best friends with can't think of the name of it, but the fellow that has stuff all over the world. Interesting. There's a museum in Gatlinburg. He's pictured there with Ripley. He was good friends with Ripley.
Yes. Yeah, I'd heard that
Believe
too.
it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Believe that or not.
Yeah. How old are you, Andy?
I am 73.
You know, that scares me, because I remember when you was a little boy.
Scares me too.
Bill, what we're going to do, first thing, I'm going to take your food in to Jamie. She's been
don't worry about
such
that.
a wonderful hostess. And we're going to let you take a break. We'll come back another evening, a summer afternoon, soon.
Well, I'm not tired if you want to stay longer. I mean, it doesn't. It depends on if you have other things to do.
No, I do not. I'd like to see you, I don't want to see you be so late in having dinner. And
No,
No.
no problem.
No problem?
No.
Okay. In 1950, Wise County had a population of about, Wise County and the city of Norton. At that time, Norton was a part of the county.
Right.
In 1950, Wise County had a population of approximately 56,000 people.
55.
55, thank you.
Right.
Okay. And today, without the prisons, it's about 38,000. And with the prisons, counting the prison population here in Big Stone and at Red Onion at Pound, it makes its way up to about 42 or 43,000. But now we have seen our population fall from 55,000 down to 38,000. Can you recall the exodus of people leaving here, people panicking during the mechanization of the mines and when men were laid off? Can you a little bit about that, Bill?
I remember they all went to Sandusky, Ohio.
Yeah.
Industrial city up there.
Yes.
And that was, well, there were no jobs.
No
there were
jobs.
no jobs in Wise County. But one thing you may not know,
I'm sure
they
I
all
don't.
came back.
Why did they come back?
They all came back when there were jobs became available.
Yes.
They all came back. I mean, you know, there's something about Wise County.
Home.
Of course, I'm an old fossil, you know, but there's something about this county that touches your heart.
True, and it's almost a part of like what we're talking about tonight. that we are rich in history, we are rich in care and concern one for the other. We are rich in neighborhoods, we are rich in families, we are rich in friendships, and that brings people back. You know, a lot of people left and came back. Do you recall the exodus that occurred in the early to mid-50s? And then, how long did it take those people to come back? As soon as the deep mine started hiring again?
Yeah, it was a gradual thing. It
Yeah.
wasn't like a sweeping thing like that. It was just like they would just sort of begin to trickle back.
You were
Families.
in the Air Force in what year? Bill, please.
1951 to 55.
Okay. A lot of men who were in World War II and a lot of men who were in the military at the same time you were, they came home, and the first time they had ever, some of them had ever seen a steam shovel or a bulldozer that was surface mining coal. Talk to us about how things started to change. Surface mining of coal as opposed to deep mining. Was it a big change? Were people employed? Were they a few people got rich and it was just a phase? What's your recollection of when you first started seeing surface mining? Strip mining, we called it.
Strip mining.
Strip mining going on.
Yeah.
When you saw strip mining going on, what was your? I mean, were you as amazed by? They wasn't mountaintop removal then; it was just strip mining.
It was a big thing. Back in those days, our economy had deteriorated quite a bit, and all of a sudden, the strip mining came into being, and the economy immediately started back up, and it made a big difference.
It gave new life.
Oh gosh, yeah. I can remember Kenneth Asbury and Joe Smitty and them every day at lunch up at the inn. You could walk in there, same table.
Yes, they were there at the same table.
Every
Yeah.
time, you know. But they were a rich part of our history. I don't know if they'll ever get the recognition they deserve, but they were.
Surface mining, strip mining, has its opponents
Oh, it did.
as well as its proponents, but it really was important to revitalizing our economy,
Yeah.
as you've said already, Bill.
The environmentalists were the ones that were against it.
Yeah.
They said that it was creating eyesores in Southwest Virginia. And it was.
And it was,
But it
but it gave a lot of men a
gave a
paycheck.
lot of men paychecks, absolutely.
And coal was recovered that could not be recovered by the deep mine method.
Right.
How do you compare? We're all wringing our hands, and we're all wondering what the future bears for Wise County and for our region now that coal appears to be totally going away, or the chance that coal will completely go away to where fossil fuel mining will be no more. How do you compare people's concerns today, because you've lived through both of them, Bill? How do you compare people's concerns about what in the world are we going to do? How are we going to live? How are we going to keep our stores open? How are we going to buy groceries? Compare today's thoughts and concerns with 1950, 52, 53, 55. talk to us a little bit about how you compare the people's worries and concerns of those two times. Did they think Wise County offered nothing then?
Yeah. There was a time when the economy was really down, and a lot of people left here going north.
Yes.
Sandusky, Ohio sticks in my mind.
Yes.
For some reason or other, there was a lot of factories and things up there, and they created jobs. And a lot of people went up there, and they come home on weekends.
Yeah, there was a special that was a documentary of how the people would work 4 days, 4 tens.
Yeah.
They would work 4 tens Monday through Thursday in order to have Friday off. They would travel on Friday to get home on Friday night, particularly if it was football season,
Yeah.
to see their high school playing football, and then they would be home Friday night and Saturday, and leave out early Sunday morning in order to get back to Ohio or Michigan or wherever, in order, particularly Ohio. Michigan was a little too far maybe.
Yeah.
In order to get back so they could be there to work the first shift on Monday and to work a 10-hour shift at that. Those were troubling times, but you never, you and your family never became overly concerned about what the future bore then. I mean,
No, I never was heavily invested. I was more of a poor boy, kind of poor newspaper man.
well, we were all poor,
But,
we were all poor boys.
We managed. I never ever really worried for some reason or another. Maybe I was too dumb to worry about things, but
You were too busy to worry.
huh?
You were too busy to worry.
Yeah, I always had a job,
Yeah.
and I was real active in the Chamber of Commerce and
Yes.
different things like that. And there was a few of us, including your dad, that kind of held things together. In other words, instead of moaning and groaning and crying wolf and things like that, he said, we'll bounce back. Fred Greer was a big proponent of
We'll
keeping a
bounce
cheerful.
back. We'll bounce
Yeah,
back.
keep a cheerful
He
face.
was the cheerleader, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. He was a smart guy. Fred was a really good guy. And man, you don't remember him in the courtroom, do you?
Vaguely. Yeah.
I tell you what, in a courtroom he could charm a snake. He was just really good. A natural born lawyer.
Yes.
He was, but I can remember the days we used to go up and Fridays used to be my day in Wise, and when I was working for the coal field, we'd go up and I'd cover the courthouse, and Henry Bandy, and you could hear him laugh all over the courthouse.
Yeah.
And we'd go over there, and then for lunch we'd go all over the inn.
In the pine room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all of us, including all the lawyers and everybody, they'd fight each other and cuss each other in the courtroom and everything, and then get in there at lunchtime and laugh and talk like we are right now,
All the lawyers and Dick Sykes and the whole crew.
Dick Sykes,
And
yeah.
Joe Smitty and all the...
And the judges would go in there too and eat with them.
Yeah. Everybody was just like us right here now.
Yeah.
Back in those days,
Yeah.
They nowadays a lot of times some of the more influential lawyers and things won't mingle with
their opponents.
their opponents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Bill, I have one more question, and then I'm going to take your thing in to warm up. We will come back another night. Not that we feel like you're tired or anything. We just don't want to overstay our welcome. But One last question. Do you feel like that
We have a roller coaster economy.
yeah, we do.
And it's always been up and down for 100 years. And I see no reason to believe, well, with the decline in the coal industry, other things have come along, like the college,
Yes.
Mountain Empire Community College and Lonesome Pine Hospital, Norton Community Hospital, and Clinch Valley College, and some things like that. And people, they think the industry, but all those places hire 300 and 400 people. And that's what's keeping us going down through the years. And business, I don't think, I know it's been bad, but it's not been as bad as a lot of people.
It's not as bad today as you recall it having been in the past.
Right,
Yes.
right. But I can remember, well, you know, I'm 91 years old, so I've been
Yes.
through it all. Good, bad, middle.
My last question was going to be, do you think that Mr. Tate hired you because you had attended the University of Kentucky? That had to have something to do with it, Bill.
Well, to tell you the truth, you know where Carol lived?
Yes.
On Oak Street?
Yes.
Well, I lived on Craig,
Yes.
the third house when you leave Oak Street to Craig. So we were neighbors.
So I said, Mr.
Carol and
Tate, he was still Carol to you even when he hired
Oh
you.
yeah, Carol and I grew up together.
Yeah, grew up together.
He was about 4 years older than me.
Yeah.
But I remember back when he was a teenager. And then I kind of looked up to him as older, you know. But then, I mean, Carol and I were always close.
We said moments ago, and we will repeat, and we're going to run. We want this book to show the people, places, and things, the people who employed others, the people who enhanced the quality of life. Carol Tate enhanced the quality of life around here almost as much as anyone, didn't he?
Yeah.
Where would the county and the city have been without this leading weekly newspaper? Now there was the Post in Big Stone, but sort of the Coalfield sort of led the way a little bit, did it? Maybe I shouldn't say that sitting here on the porch in Big Stone Gap, but
Well, I worked for the Coalfield for 11 years.
yes.
I have fond memories of both.
And but we have enjoyed this so very much tonight.
Well, you're welcome to stay as long as you want. I mean,
I know that. I know that you have been more hospitable than. But we don't want to overstay our welcome. I'd like for you to sleep on and think about some of the things we discussed, some of the things we didn't discuss. So if we come back, you might, if we can help you to recall some instances and some people.
do you have this?
I don't. Oh, I treasure it.
I'll tell you what, you'll find everything that you want to know in that book.
This is.
I sold 1,000.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
Thank
that's
you.
probably, I've got,
More than I can say.
I think maybe 5
More than I can say.
left.
More than I
You'll
can say.
enjoy it.
Oh,
I enjoy it myself
I'm going.
before you came.
You gave birth to it, and you still enjoy it. You know how much
Yeah.
I'm going to enjoy it. But we do appreciate the hospitality. We appreciate your being willing to share thoughts with us. When we'll get this done, we'll get this struck down to a DVD, and I'm going to bring the DVD down here and let you and Jamie and others look at it, so you can say that's okay. What we said was okay. What we said was okay.
Well, you sure didn't get much from me tonight.
Well, no, but yeah, you'd be surprised. You recharged things.
I lived it.
You lived it, see, and you can tell it.
Yeah.
Bill, I'm going to tell Jamie, say goodbye to Jamie, and ask her to once again to warm up your food. Thank you for being so kind to allow us to have a supper while you were doing all the talking.
Well, I'm footloose and fancy free, so I have all kinds of free time. I don't work. I'm retired. I'm 91 years old. And I spend most of my summers right here in this chair
In this chair.
in the afternoons.
But and you've got this wonderful, cool porch.
Oh,
Privacy.
yeah.
Everything that a
And-
person could want.
And people can't see in, but
No.
I can see out.
But you can see out.
Yeah.
And we will think of some other topics that will challenge your thinking a little bit and challenge your recall. And we want you to enjoy our visits as much as we enjoy visiting with you.
Oh, I do. I think that you'll find the answers to about anything you want to know in that book. I mean, it's like, that's my personal
Your personal recollection of the
book.
way,
Yeah,
of
the whole thing.
the
And,
whole thing. This covers what period, Bill? From what, generally speaking, from what period to what period?
well,
the
it was
earliest
mostly
period.
all that book
Yeah.
was mostly before 1900.
Okay. Mostly, this is mostly before 1900.
Yeah, what is the title on the book there?
Oh, Big Stone Gap to early years.
Early
yes.
years. I think you'll enjoy it.
Oh, I know I'm
I
going to enjoy
enjoyed
it.
reading it myself.
Oh,
and I wrote it.
I know. I'm not only going to enjoy reading it, I'm particularly going to enjoy, you know, I'm a picture nut, and
You'll find one of a kind pictures in there.
one of a kind.
One of a
pictures.
kind, yeah. A lot of them. I love that picture on the back cover
Yes.
and the front cover.
Wood Avenue and Big Stone, and
That's
yes,
my favorite right there.
right there. You, of course, by virtue of the fact that you worked for a newspaper, you didn't have an opportunity to keep or maintain many of the photographs you took, or did you? Just some. You.
Well, you know, I don't know. After I left the coal field, we kept them all in a kind of a box in the, what we call the back shop
Yes.
back there, and I don't know what happened to them then.
Yeah.
I don't know them.
Lord, just
A lot of them may still be there.
it just a treasure trove.
The secret is,
Yeah.
not a lot of people enjoy history the way I did.
Yeah.
I mean, I love history. I
do
mean, I
too.
don't just, you know, I'm in another, I can transfer myself into another world.
You can tell that we enjoy history also, and you've added a great deal to our thoughts tonight. I'm going to ask Jamie, tell Jamie, thank her for her hospitality, and ask her to make sure that your supper's lined up.
Oh, well, don't worry about
Well,
it.
no,
I'm fine,
no,
huh?
we're just delighted to be here, and
Well, you can come back anytime you want, and I'll be right here in this chair.
Ernie, we'll be back, won't we?
Ernie?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You didn't get a word in edgewise, did you?
Not much. He's that way, you know, once he gets started.
Well, I wanted to prompt your thinking as much as I possibly could.
Yeah.
I wanted to try to trigger your recall, and I hope we were able to do that.
Well, you'll find out that people that are 90 years old, they think more back to the good old days than anything else.
I told Bill, Ernie, that we're going to transfer this to a DVD and let him and Jamie watch it here in the next several days so that you can see what it is we're talking about. I'm also going to try to recover, and I know I can, a copy of that 1962 film footage that has you prominently showcased in it. You came around the corner there at the bank, and you were wearing a lightweight jacket. It was in the spring, and the collar was turned up. You had your collar turned up. You were Mr. Cool, and you had on the reporter's hat.
Yeah.
You had on the reporter's hat. Your collar was turned up on your jacket, and you was ready to meet any story that was to be told.
Oh yeah, had to.
We'll make sure that we get that down to you. I'd like to know where there are 50 more pieces of recorded video like that, but I know that one exists, and that one will be brought down to you and Jamie.
You can also you can go back through the back issues of the Cofield Progress and pick up an awful lot of golden information.
Yeah.
Well, the same for the Post.
Yeah.
I don't know about the Wiles County Public Library, but I'm sure it does. And this one here, they've got every issue of the Post from the time it was
At this library here.
in 1890.
Okay.
And since they had it here, and this is part of the Wiles County Library,
Yes.
I'm sure they must have it at Wiles too.
Yeah.
I would think, but if you can't find it up there, it's up there. Every issue of the Post.
Yes.
And
How many years did you work for the Post, and how many years did you work for the Cofield? And Bill.
I worked, I think, 11 years for the Cofield and 40 some years for the Post. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'm history.
That's 50 some years in reporting the news.
I think, you know, when you get old like me, you think back a lot, but 55 years sticks in my mind about the length of time that I was, you know. And I ran, I went to University of Kentucky journalism school, and then I went to into the Air Force, and I spent 4 years in Germany, and I edited a newspaper for the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines for all of Europe, and I had a ball.
Had Wise County changed a lot when you came back home from the Air Force?
No.
Has Wise County hadn't changed that much?
No,
No.
don't recall it at all. It's just like I never left.
God bless you. We will be back in touch with you.
Okay.
We'll call first and let you know that we're coming, and we will try to list in advance some things that we might want to talk about. Okay?
Anytime.
Thank you, Bill.
What was your mother's name?
Well, her name was Mildred, but my dad called her Mickey all the time.
Yeah, Missing.
Yeah.
I remember her.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
I remember your dad too, very well. He and I were good friends.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah. Let me ask a couple questions. This is more history than anything else, not what Shannon's interested in. But as I've been doing some research on the book Trail on Some Pine, and I was over at Killing Rock year before last, the 100th anniversary or 150th anniversary of 6 people being killed at Killing Rock. Did you ever do much research in any of that?
What, the Killing Rock?
Well, the Trail on Some Pine.
Oh yeah.
Well, let me tell you what I think, and this may not be applicable, but Ira Flemings had put out a reward on killing Dr. Taylor and his family, a bounty on them. And Dr. Taylor had a whole lot of friends and pretty well known, and he was a Mason. And it's what it appears to be that, you know, there's a gunfight up at the Wise County Courthouse.
A what?
Gunfight at the Wise County Courthouse, and over 100 shots were fired, and Ira Mullins was shot in the back, but he couldn't move to it. And my understanding, he was blaming Dr. Taylor for his inability and to move and all that stuff, and that's why he put out a bounty on Dr. Taylor and his family. So they got a bunch together to ambush the Ira Mullins family, and they blamed it on Dr. Taylor on purpose. Now, Dr. Taylor's son was an engineer in Norton. His house was where the sisters used to live on Virginia Avenue.
Yeah.
And his place of business was behind Don Pippin's law office in Norton. I don't think anything's been in that building for 70 years, but I always wondered what it was because it had great big windows for it.
Yeah.
Well, the reason it was there that way is to let more sunlight in, because he was an engineer. And is the stories that we keep coming up against is that Dr. Taylor was a Mason, and his wife made him a outfit out of white. And I got a picture of him in the Wise County Courthouse in his white outfit, and his wife is standing behind him. And if you remember where he was supposed to be hung at, it was like a gigantic box. There weren't any place to watch or see or anything at the top or the bottom of either one. The story that we get, there were 13 Masons in suits went into the box with him. And before that, he said he was going to rise in 3 days. Well, the judge and the sheriff were both supposedly Masons. And they said, you can't do that, you'll get us all hung. So he went in with 13 Masons dressed in a suit, took his white outfit off, had his suit on, and walked out. 14 Masons walked out. The trap door opened, something fell out in the wagon, they hauled the wagon off. Now he's got two daughters, went to Missouri. One of his great-granddaughters came back last month and had a session at the inn at Wise, and Taylor's relatives were there, and they talked that they think that he went to Missouri too, and that's where he lived his life out, in Missouri. And the detective agency that got him in Bluefield said that he told them that he's going to go to Florida. Well, they said, well, why don't you come back to Wise County with us? So he came back to Wise County, and I think all this was set up to start with is, he put his shoes on backwards so people would think he was walking one way and walking another.
I remember that.
Yeah, so I think he told them he's going to go to Florida so people wouldn't look for him in Missouri. And here's some other, he was related to, I think, 7 presidents. And he was related to Elizabeth Taylor. And all sorts of people that we recognize their name. So I don't think he was ever hung, and I think that his family and his son, the engineer, paid John Fox Jr. to write the book Trail on Some Pine so people would think he was really hung.
That could very well be.
Well, John Fox Jr., he went to a junior college in Kentucky, Transylvania College.
Pennsylvania.
And then he went to Harvard or Yale. He was in his top of his class there.
Yeah.
He wrote for the New York Times and all the major publications. He went to Europe in World War I, wrote back numerous stories of that. He was best friends with Teddy Roosevelt, rode with the Rough Riders, and then ended up in Big Stone. You kind of wonder. And then when they offered him, well, why don't you write this book? Well, he could have used the money. Now, here's something kind of interesting. He had 2 brothers in the coal business from La Follette, Tennessee. Now, they were from Bourbon County, Kentucky originally, and he came down to visit his brothers, and they told him, from the stories we got, you need to go to Cumberland Gap because that's where everything's going on. Well, he got to Cumberland Gap and said, oh no, you need to go to Big Stone. Everything's going, and there was supposed to be a tent city here of over 1,000 tents here.
That book that he got,
Yeah,
that's a picture of the tent city in there.
yeah. Well, so then he got up here and needed money. And now here's something else interesting about that. I was going to tell you, I was talking to Papa Joe Smitty the last time I had a conversation. We were talking about this. And I said, yeah, John Fox Jr. had 2 brothers in the coal business. He said, yeah, I know. My dad did business with them. Yeah. And then the other thing that I found after I started doing a little research is I was wondering, well, when all this was going on, where was John Fox Jr. and did he write it a year or 2 years or 10 years later? He was a guard at the Wise County Jail. John Fox Jr. was. So it kind of makes more sense. Why would he be a guard? He'd be up there trying to find out more information.
Yeah.
Now, here's something else that's interesting about that, is that Bad Todd Hall, I'm surprised there's not a whole lot more written about him.
Todd Hall. Yeah.
He gets credit for killing 97 people, 23 that we know about. And the last one that I'm aware of that he killed was the chief of police in Norton in the doorway of the Norton police station.
Yeah.
And then he went to Memphis to be with his wife, and they couldn't get anybody here to go after him. And finally they got Red Fox or Dr. Taylor to go to Memphis and get him. Huh.
Well, you know, Horace Fox, John Fox's brother, built this house.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Horace Fox built this house, and they own the whole block, the Fox family.
Yeah.
And of course, you know where the John Fox
Yeah.
Museum is over there. And this was part of it, and that corner there, the whole works there. So I live in a historical.
You certainly do. Yeah. Huh. But it kind of makes sense when you put all that together. Hey, I'll tell you another one that is interesting in the history that we have is the fella, the giant from Letcher
And I'll
County,
take the
Kentucky.
trash.
His uncle was Devil John Ryan.
Ernie, we're going to run, and excuse me, I'm going to let you hand me that Bill's food, and Jamie's going to warm it up, and we'll bring everything to a close, Brother Ernie. We're going to come back, Bill. We're going to come back, okay? Because we left too many stories untold.